everybody. This is John Yeager with Bennett Thrasher. Welcome to the next episode of Think Business. I'm excited today to have Bruce Belvin, CEO and founder of OneDataSource. Bruce, welcome.
Hey, John, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thanks. So the trivia point I have with Bruce is he's probably the last person that I saw in a business capacity before the pandemic. We were in Charleston at your conference, and that's when everything broke loose and everybody told us to go into quarantine, and I came home from there, and my wife put me into the basement for 2 weeks in quarantine, and I haven't really seen anybody since other than through Zoom meetings. So that's kind of your claim to fame in my world.
I don't know. That's kind of infamous instead of famous. But hopefully the other attendees don't hold me responsible for what's happened. But I didn't think about that. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, it is. It was really kind of amazing. Obviously we started hearing the news. We heard it a little bit the week before, but then it really kind of came out that week. And so I remember driving home, and my wife was pretty worried. But fortunately, I think we all were healthy and safe, so no issues there. So, but again, welcome. Give me a little bit of intro into OneDataSource and the market you serve and kind of the services you provide and those kind of things, if you don't mind.
Sure, John. So we were founded about 15 years ago and have grown over the time to support about 30 national and major regional QSR brands, and that's around 8,000 QSR restaurants. So anytime you're traveling the country and you see, one of the big brands that we're probably collecting data and moving that data for accounting functionality, operationals, business intelligence, integration with HR payroll systems. We're integrated with banks to aid in automated deposit reconciliations. So really any data that's associated with QSR restaurants, regardless of the source, is kind of in our domain and passing through our hands to facilitate efficiencies for our clients.
And you have really two kind of key products. One is the OneView, which is the technology, data interface, data integration, reporting, and then OnePay, which is your AP automation tools. I think that's correct, right?
Yes, exactly. We just rolled out OneView is the original product, and it's evolved tremendously, as you can imagine, with technology over the last decade. And then OnePay we released just a couple of years ago as an automated accounts payable application, and we're really excited about that application and the adoption we've seen in QSR. And most recently added the payments capability to it to execute check and ACH payments for our clients. So really happy with that application and expanding a bit in our company.
That's awesome. So I know you and I have had a few conversations here and there about the business and what it looks like, especially coming out of the pandemic, but even some of the other trends that were already kind of occurring. What do you have two or three kind of themes that you're seeing out there that are affecting the market that you serve?
Yeah, it was really kind of quiet for the first month or so after all this started. I think everyone was just trying to get their legs under them and figure out, where things were going. But once everybody started, coming out of that little time frame, they've really begun to focus on, efficiencies, communication. The restaurants, while their field operators have been remote, all the time, they're looking at more, how do we become efficient in the office? How do we reduce some G&A? And so the interest in technology, updating systems, standardizing systems has really gained a lot of interest, especially over the last 30 to 45 days. And then, growth, restaurant companies are doing better than they expected in the QSR space by far. Third-party delivery certainly played a big role in that. And then, what it's showing is that QSR really can withstand, downturns in the economy and something scary like this. And a lot of the investors, we're seeing a lot more interest from private equity, and private equity that was already in QSR seems to be more aggressive with their plans, when things open up and deals start happening again, Sounds like they're going to be a lot more aggressive than they were before. So, standardizing systems, having everything in place to support that scale is really, top of mind for them right now.
Gotcha. So when private equity money comes into the space, and you've obviously seen a lot of that with transaction flow and merger acquisition activity, what generally happens? I mean, is there a need to really kind of update your technology to go from like a QuickBooks maybe to an enterprise system and use your reporting to give the investors a better sense of what's happening financially? What kind of things do you typically see a QSR restaurant have to go through to meet the needs of their institutional investors?
There really seems to be a trend of outsourcing those administrative functions, HR and payroll, so they can really focus on growth and taking control of operations. Some of the PE groups aren't traditionally from restaurants, so they're new to the vertical, and rightly they just want to focus on getting the business right and let someone else handle all the back office piece. So I think that we've seen that trend, and I think we're going to continue seeing that trend where a big piece is finding the right resources prior to acquisition or prior to additional acquisitions, so they can continue to focus on operations, their people and their customers. And so I think we'll see that continue, and the technology piece becomes more and more important to them because they need really stable vendors who can grow with them and provide the higher level of detail that they're interested in than we see from some of the operators that have been around 10 or 20 years. There's just more of a hunger for data in the newer group of investors.
Gotcha. So when a company, you've obviously had some clients that have gone through this, and they've moved on to technology and process. Are there certain key metrics that they tend to want to look at? They come to you to say, hey, can you make OneView do this, and kind of show us this level of metric or this informational flow, this piece of information. Is there some that you've kind of seen across that maybe can give our viewer some insight into what things they need to be start thinking about measuring?
Yeah, there's certainly a much higher level of attention to labor based on day parts, not just overall labor by crew and management, for example, which is kind of where people focused in the past. They're really looking at individual day parts and where can they leverage labor during their day parts, whether that's adding labor to increase revenue and take advantage of car counts that are in drive-throughs or delivery. So seeing a lot more focus on labor. Food cost really hasn't changed. It's kind of the same as always has been. And then there's a lot more interest in data that can support marketing outreach. So looking at what can they possibly do to increase traffic, to increase frequency, where you have a brand, a lot of delivery brands and pizza, for example, they know who their customers are, they know how to contact their customers. And so we can look into the detail and figure out, who's ordering more frequently, what do they order when they order more frequently. So there's a higher level of detail around menu mix, sales mix, what's going on with their product and price points to support the revenue right now.
So really, people and inventory, trying to get a better, more efficient use of both, right? So if they're with their people, if they can schedule people better and have more predictive analysis of, I need 5 people this shift, but only 2 people this shift because of historical trends, then obviously that helps them, from an efficiency standpoint. And then I would think on the inventory side, if they can understand what's selling and what they're going to be marketing to, they can be better prepared from an inventory standpoint to have the right ingredients on hand.
Yeah, absolutely. And early in the COVID era, a lot of brands were worried about just product. Are they going to have enough product on hand? And so they needed to take a deeper look at quantity on the shelf, how long that was lasting, how frequently they were ordering certain products. So there was a lot of attention to that. That seems to have become stable now. I'm not really hearing any concerns about having product in the pipeline. But we've definitely seen in brands where they're discontinuing certain products and maybe streamlining their menu a little bit to suit the delivery and carryout aspect, because there's almost no dine-in QSR right now. So I think there's a real focus on that, and hence a little deeper dive into their menu.
One of the key themes, and you and I have had this conversation, one of the key themes we've been seeing and talking a lot about is this move to what we call a modern accounting department, where potentially you're moving out of the transaction processing, bank direct business, and moving more into being able to analyze and use the data and make better decisions. So people might be saying, okay, I'm not going to have the AP clerks and the AR clerks and the bank rec clerks and those kind of people. I'm going to have a CFO and an analyst who can help me interpret the data and make these kind of decisions we're talking about. Are you seeing kind of some of the same thing?
Absolutely. That's what I was alluding to earlier when I was talking about the new investors really focusing on operations. They're a very sophisticated group that are looking to either grow their restaurant holdings or get into the restaurant industry, and their desire for higher level of data, higher level of analysis really requires that they go to a quality organization like Bennett Thrasher and use systems that give them the data that they need to work with. And so, while we still see a lot of, long-term, 15, 20-year franchises using accounting systems that are, very old, they're even looking now at newer systems. So definitely there's a big push to both BPO support and making sure that those outsourced groups have current technology.
Well, I think that's about time to wrap things up. Bruce, I really appreciate, again, you coming on the show. Anything last minute words of wisdom you want to offer the audience? And then also, anything you want to talk to us about OneDataSource and how people can reach you if they're interested in talking more?
Sure. Always happy to share how people can reach us. Probably the easiest way is just OneDataSource.com, just all spelled out, no spaces or hyphens. And, you mentioned labor. Really have to give credit to the QSR operators that we've been involved with, talking about better labor scheduling and more attention. Really a lot of that has been around making sure that they keep people employed, they keep people working, and support their staff and their families the best they can. I've really been impressed by the industry and their attention to taking care of their internal staff, so they can obviously take care of their customers. And then I think there's a lot of optimism in the QSR vertical, and while there's certainly a lot of struggle out there, the vertical as a whole I think is doing pretty well, and we'll see recovery probably quicker than casual dining, fine dining certainly. And so I think it creates a lot of opportunity for all levels of investors, employees, and vendors like us to the vertical.
Absolutely. Well, again, thanks, Bruce. This is John Yeager again signing off this episode of Think Business. You can reach me at Bennett Thrasher, btcpa.net. Or hashtag Think Business. Please let us know if you have any thoughts or comments, and look forward to the next episode. Thanks again, Bruce.
Thanks a lot, John. Talk to you soon.